Learn all about living in Baja Norte, Mexico from Doris Payne-Camp in this video interview with expats in Mexico. Tell us a little bit about your condominium. Where is it located? What city are you in?
We're not in a city, and that's part of the joy of being here. It's quiet. And one thing that I like about living in Baja is we cross the border from San Diego and you drive along the border and then you make a turn and go south. And at that point, you're right along the ocean. And I recall when we were coming just for weekends that when we made that turn, I could just feel the stress come off. Every weekend it happened. And that's how it is living here. We are about 50 miles south of the border. We are between Rosarito Beach and Ensenada. We're a little closer to Rosarito, not much, but Rosarito is, at least for me, not for everybody who lives here, but for me, it's the place I go if I need to do any shopping or get the dog groomed or go to Walmart or Home Depot. That's where I go.
And
so that's our closest.
All of those stores are available in Rosarito Beach?
Yes, they're available in Rosarito. They're available in Ensenada. And for me, they're also available in San Diego because I often do my shopping up there and bring things across the border, which is another story. But
tell us a little bit about your condominium. How big is it, and how many bedrooms and bathrooms? And
it's 2 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. It's 2 stories. It is in a small community, about 65 condos and casas. There are some homes along the ocean, and then the condominiums ring around. I'm the president of the HOA. That's a new assignment that I just took, but I've been active since I've been here. And it's a very large property. At one time, it was a resort. It was a Plaza del Mar, and before that, Santa Maria Resort. And it was known for its alternative medicine. And so there were lots of buildings that are here that are in the process of being demolished and renovated. So there's a lot here in terms of the property, but not a lot here in terms of the residents. So there are many, many gardens and beds, and I garden quite frequently when I'm able, and the community has 2 full-time gardeners who do it. It is a, quote, secure community. We have somebody at our gate 24/7, and the gate is shut, supposedly, and there are lots of places where you could get in if you wanted to.
And you're right on the water.
Yes, we're on the water. We are not in the first row. We look over some houses to the water. Those houses weren't there when we first bought, but they're there now. So we've gotten accustomed to that. But we can still have whitewater views. We can still hear the waves pounding at night. And I like that a lot.
How much would a condo like that cost now?
Now, the last one that sold, I think, sold for $120,000.
Oh, it's very reasonable.
Yes.
I mean, considering you're on the beach with a view of the Pacific Ocean.
We're not on the beach. We're on a cliff, and we have to hike down to the beach. But yes. If you wanted to buy a home, probably 300, maybe 350, but that would buy you a pretty nice house here. Or nowadays, there are more and more condo towers being built along the ocean, and those, the cost is anywhere from $300,000 to $1 million. There's certainly plenty of $1 million homes along the ocean, not in this community.
So it's certainly less expensive than California, but more expensive than a lot of other areas in Mexico.
Oh, sure. But one reason that we like living here is we could not afford to live on the ocean in San Diego.
So what is your internet like down there?
Our internet is erratic. When it's good, it's good. But it's not very reliable.
Do you have a Telmex account, or is it a?
No, We don't have a Telmex account. We have something that's called Quick Speed here, a provider that there's only one, so we're all using the same one, and I think that they've grown faster than their equipment has grown.
Oh, I see. Okay. But so is that fairly typical there of kind of erratic internet service?
I would say yes. I mean, erratic. Sometimes in the day, you go all day and it doesn't go off at all, and then sometimes it'll be off for 10 minutes, or sometimes it'll be off for 3 hours.
Do you think do you think it's because where you live, or would in Ensenada or Rosarito Beach, would the internet be better?
Possibly. Yeah, possibly.
Okay.
Because we're kind of far out.
Okay, so you're kind of in the sticks.
Yes.
Okay.
I love being in the sticks.
Do you have quite a few expats living around you?
Yes. In this community, we're made up of both Mexican nationals and expats. Some of the full-time residents are actually, I'd guess, almost all the full-time residents are expats. And there's a large community of expats up and down the coast. This area is very, very popular for expats. Those who are living in Tijuana, many of them are commuting to work in San Diego. They're crossing the border every day. Or people living down here are not as likely to be commuting every day. They might be working online, but they're not as likely to be going back and forth every day.
Isn't crossing the border a bit of a problem? Doesn't it take quite a bit of time?
Depends on when you go. Those of us who live here full time, and even when we were weekenders, we all have Sentry passes or global entry. And so there are special lanes at the border, 7 or 8 of them. And sometimes I wait as little as 2 or 3 minutes, and sometimes I wait a half hour. But I'm not waiting 4 hours. Which,
Oh, okay. Because I understood it could be up to 3 hours to get through the border.
It could be. It could be even longer on a holiday weekend, but not if you are living here and you have Sentry or Global Entry. There's special lanes and you just access this.
What does that mean? Explain what that is, Sentry or Global. What is it?
It's a special pass that we were able to obtain through the Border Patrol, whatever that's called. And we got it when we were coming just for the weekend because we didn't want to spend the whole weekend sitting in the line. We had to go through a really long process of FBI checks and fingerprinting and they looked at all of our financial records. They looked at a lot. They really looked at a lot to make sure that we would be safe citizens and it would be safe for them to allow us to go back and forth without extraordinary checks. And so now that's what we do. We don't have the same checks that you would have if you didn't have one of these cards.
And are you pretty involved in the expat community there?
I'm pretty involved. I mean, there are people who are more involved than me, but yes, I'm involved. I belong to a book club. I am participating in activities all the time. I was just to the garden club day on Saturday that was for the Rosarito Friends of the Library.
Are there lots of things to do in the area? I mean, are you pretty active? And I mean, besides what you just mentioned, are there other things that you do? Wine tasting, or
Of course, wine tasting because we have the Valle de Guadalupe. I love to go to the Valle. Sometimes we go out just for breakfast and to drive around or to go to the organic farm. At this time of the year, maybe every week, go out to the valley. Takes maybe 40 minutes, or to go wine tasting, or to go for lunch. I mean, you name it, you can go out there. There's a theater guild in Rosarito. There are lots of pet rescues, different kinds of pets, including horse rescues. There are many, many scholarship activities for the children here. So that's a constant array of fundraisers for those. There's a large blues festival in Rosarito Beach. There's a large wine festival in Ensenada and the Valle. So I think there's no end of things to do. The cultural center here in Rosarito has a long list of programs. They just built a new performance area. So they had an art festival 2 weekends ago. So almost every weekend there's something going on. Here locally in our little community, we have some great musicians, and they're performing in some of the restaurants and bars. Some of them are very, very good, and it's quite a pleasure to spend an evening listening.
What's the cost of living like there compared with San Diego?
Well, the cost of living is significantly less. We don't have, in this condo, we don't have central heat, we don't have central air conditioning, we have our ocean breezes that are great. We heat in the winter with propane. We have a propane stove and sometimes electricity if we need to. This building is concrete, it holds the chill, so we need to heat sometimes in the winter, but a room at a time. It's not like you're doing the whole house. I don't know anybody here who has air conditioning. It's just on the ocean, it's just not so important, and our climate isn't that hot. So that works out okay. So we have water, which is very, very low. I mean, things are not just here, but in Puerto Vallarta, we notice the same thing. Our utilities are pegged to costs that Mexicans can afford, not just us, and consequently, they're very low. And the HOA dues in this community are $150 a month, and that takes care of our security, it takes care of our gardening, it takes care of the street lights and the streets, it takes care of all the trash removal. So we don't have a lot of other costs.
And your climate sounds very similar to San Diego's climate.
It's very similar. Yeah, we're 50 miles. You know,
right,
it's
right.
very, very similar. Mm-hmm. So we go across the border for our medical care. We get some of our medical care in Puerto Vallarta, but for things here that we want Medicare to pay for, we're in San Diego for those things. My husband had cataract surgery this week in San Diego. I'm going to have surgery on my knee for replacement in July, and that will be in San Diego. World-class hospitals. But we could have minor surgeries, and in Tijuana now it's becoming quite a center for medical tourism, and you could have almost any procedure done there too. But it wouldn't be paid by Medicare, so across.
Have you had any noticeable problems with violence in the area?
No.
So no, it's a pretty safe area.
I feel safe living here. I live here by myself during the week, and I don't even worry about it. I take the dog out at night to walk her. I mean, I'm not walking out on the road. I'm not walking out on the highway, but walking around the community, I'm okay.
Mm-hmm. Do you speak Spanish?
No, and I've tried studying Spanish a lot of times. That's another thing you can do here. You can study Spanish. Lots of people do. But I speak more Spanish than I lived here, than when I came here, because I have staff members who I want to talk to, especially the gardeners. And so we have a way of communicating, and I've learned a lot of Spanish words. So between here and Puerto Vallarta, I have a basic vocabulary. I'm not comfortable speaking, but I can make myself understood some of the time. And here, there are a lot of people who speak English. Well, in Puerto Vallarta too.
Well, any resort area, or particularly your area, which is so close to the border, I'm assuming that English is pretty widely spoken.
It is. It is.
What are the 3 things you love most about living there?
It is beautiful. It is beautiful and it's quiet. I just love this environment. I love being able to look out at the ocean morning, noon, and night. I like being able to hear it. I like being able to watch the dolphins playing in the surf. To me, that's great. I like smelling it. So that's number one. Number two is it is just a more relaxed lifestyle. When I come back from San Diego, I'm exhausted because I have done all my shopping. I run around. Here, there aren't a lot of stores to go to unless I get in the car and drive. So I'm not likely to do that because I need a couple things from the grocery store. I'll go to a local tienda, but I don't want to go into town unless there's a real reason for going. So my lifestyle's much quieter. And it's a really nice group of people. I like the people that I'm living around. I continue to learn from them. I continue to enjoy doing things with them. And they're good friends.
Thanks, Doris. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks for asking.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Bye-bye.